Today I'm going to walk you through how I would help a student debug example 3. So in this case, I would ask the student, what do you expect your program to do? And they should tell me, okay, I initialize I, and then the scanner is going to ask the user to enter an integer value for I, and then the program will count up by 2s until it reaches I, and then it actually does the scan part. And then there's a while loop, and there's whatever the user entered, and then they go up by 2, and then it spits out the what value I is after the end of the loop. So let's say that was the student's explanation. I'd say, okay, let's run your program and see what happens next. Okay, there it is. It's asking the user for an input. And I'd ask my student here, which values would it make sense to test out here? Would it make sense to test -100 or 0 or 5 or 15 or 200? And I'd want the student to tell me a little bit about appropriate test cases here, because that really does matter. So let's say we tested out 4. Hit enter. Nothing's happening. Is it Replit being slow, or are we stuck in an infinite loop? So after a few seconds of waiting, I would just stop the program and I'd ask the student, is there a way that we can test that Replit's not just being slow? Is there a way for us to test, what is happening in the program? And I'd want them to be able to add another print line statement. So system.out.println, and they could say something like I is plus I. And then let's see what happens next. So we'll run the program again. Let's use our same input. So let's use 4 again. And holy smokes, we're caught in an infinite loop. So then let's stop the program, and I'd ask my student, why did this happen? And I'd want them to look really closely, just isolate on this loop here. And hopefully they'd see this right here, which is that while I doesn't equal 15, you're telling the program increase I by 2. But the problem is, well, we're telling the program to not look for, or we're telling the program to keep running the loop unless I equals 15. So in many cases, 15 is just going to get passed over, and depending on what input the user gives, the program's just going to run forever and ever in its forever loop. So I'd ask the student, how could we change just this statement? And so hopefully they'd come up with something like, well, let's just make it, while I is less than 15, then we increase I by 2. And then that makes sense here because, the user gives an input, and we're trying to count up until we reach 15. And that is exactly matching what the program's initial statement says. So then we'll test it again. And let's use that same input and see what happens. I think this time it's just Replit being slow. Come on, Replit. Oh boy. Try again. Okay, well, in the end, I just want my student to see that you have to be really careful about the conditions you give your loops, because it's easy to fall into the infinite loop trap or the never loop trap. Thanks for watching.